Okay, guys, just some extra content for you. Might lose some subs, but here it is. Although gods cannot belong to people, we don't own them. What I'm taking away from my hiatus from God Loki is that a lot of things have changed over the last decade. Marvel has gone from something decades ago that was hated because it was a comic book and yuck comic books, and comic book Lokeans could, at times, be problematic. They were in love with comic book Loki. They wanted to worship comic book Loki with his cool comic book powers or his cool animated TV series powers. To be clear, this has always been a problem in Lokeanism. Now, I've been upfront and open. My family was called decades ago through the comics, but my brother went out and did the proper field work and learned about Norse mythology, even though he had to travel hours to a library to read it because Catholic family, my father would have literally beat him to death. I know what it's like to come in through that door. I really do. I know what it's like to have Loki as a companion for a long time, not being Loki because you are being raised Roman Catholic and you would be beaten to death. I know all that. But I also know that Marvel has been transformed by Disney into something that is just absolutely tearing Lokeanism apart. It's bad enough for gay people. It's clear straight people don't understand the struggle we're having seeing a token bisexual gender fluid character that really is neither gender fluid or bisexual up till now. And I don't need to waste my money to find this out. There are many hurt gay people who have brought this up repeatedly. And it's also destroying Lokeanism to a point and tearing it apart because we're getting a lot of bored women who do not like their husbands, and this is becoming a trend. And they want a sexual fantasy. And when werewolves were in vogue, it would have been a werewolf. When vampires were in vogue, it would have been a vampire. Now their sexual fantasy is Loki. Oh ho, they find out he's an actual deity. So therefore, they can go from sexual fantasy about a character and have the very god show up. And at first, they seem like genuine worshippers because they are saying they love Loki and they know he believes in them and such forth and so on. But then you realize every time they talk about him, it's only endless encounters. And you start to realize you're not dealing with a Lokean. You're not even dealing with a Lokean that now has behavioral issues and needs to hit the brakes. You're dealing with someone obsessed with Tom Hiddleston. And these women tend to be aggressive. They tend to be mean-spirited. And they not only can have their cake and eat it too with being married and having the ultimate fantasy with Loki, they're going to get rid of you. I know it hurts. I know it sucks. I know if you've ever encountered these women, and they've been with us quite a while, and they will be with us as long as Marvel is a thing, it hurts. I know it does. But do you think for 1 minute that is actually Loki that they're dealing with? Do you think that Loki is so unloved and unwanted? Do you think he really has to stoop to that? Do you think our Loki, the clever god, who gets back at everybody in his own chosen speed, who has to be chased down by Thor on repeated occasions because he had his fun and he ran away and he did mischiefs and had to be brought up short. Do you really think that this god has to be reduced to begging and fulfilling endless desires in place of worship? This is our Loki. This is the god who has probably terrorized you countless times. This is the god who loves you. This is the god who will push you to learn the runes. This is the god who will make you love his brother, and you're gonna do it, and you're gonna be nice, and you're going to work with him, and don't you give me any lip about any of the other Norse gods. This is not a god who needs a fandom based on a fictional character. This is not a god who needs people obsessed with him in a purely sexual context. Loki doesn't need this. I don't think he wants it. I think in the beginning it might have been cute and amusing. And it might have been something fun to go beep, 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 boop, 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 with all of our little Lokean buttons, but I think that that time has passed. I think especially for hurt gay people, seeing gayness exploited time and again by Disney and now with Loki yet, and a lot of people seem to have problems telling the difference between Tom Hiddleston and actual Loki. I think he knows we're sore over that. I think he knows we're sore over the endless, seemingly endless waves of women with a sexual obsession with him. It will end, my friends. Even the Disney Empire will crumble into dust just like the Roman Empire did. They will die out someday. They will. We will all applaud that day. Then the new one will come along, but until then, we will have breathing space. Tom Hiddleston will age, get ugly. All of a sudden, these women will change to whatever the description of the newest, hottest guy to play Loki is. It will be amazing. If he's a hot blonde, suddenly Loki's blonde. It's gonna be okay. You can survive this. I know it sucks. I know it sucks to see a god you love and care about reduced to a fetish. I understand that. And I understand there's nothing more painful than to try to guide these women and keep saying, yeah, you know, that Tom Hiddleston stuff's okay, and it's okay if you have that as a fantasy, but honey, you gotta read the lore. Babe, you gotta practice your runes. You gotta start establishing actual Loki contact. And so many of them never do. In fact, they drift away when you say, well, you see that hot actor you like? Here are the few historical pictures we have of Loki. Yeah, we know. Yes, we know. We've all seen them. Lokeans have all seen them and been like, I still love you, baby. You're beautiful. And Loki's just in the corner like, um, usually his descriptions do not show you the legendary god of beauty or anything else. He's our god. You know, I have statues of him that look remarkably goofy. I have one that's mass produced that it's just disturbing and he loved it, and I have one where he's cross-eyed and I wouldn't call it attractive, but Loki delights in that. This is a god of infinite chess and so many other things. But he's not a god that wants us hurt by this. I know that much even in the midst of my hurt and being pained, you know, and you know, it went pretty deep. A lot of them, since I'm gay, they go to the, you know, oh, you're not a real woman, you're gay. And you're not a real woman because you're not married. And you're not a real woman because you've never had children. And that sucks. That stings. But they're not talking for Loki. And I know it's hard to remember that while you're being lambasted. Especially if they drag Loki in the middle and say Loki told them to tell you. Loki did not tell them to tell you any of those horrible things. Are they even working with Loki? If they are, they're doing a really sucky job of it, because Loki would not have us do that to one another. Would have us be excellent to one another. I'm feeling very tired and very old at this point. I am. I've had this happen on multiple occasions. Women get the hots with Hiddleston, and you have to ride it out. Sometimes they're here for years, so it's not, you know, they're hot for him and they get over the obsession like an adult film tape, and then they move on to the next and the next and the next. Some do, some don't. Sometimes they're here for a long time, and their Lokeanism is just going to be desire after desire after desire, reading fan fiction and erotic novels and what have you. It won't be based on actual Lokeanism. It won't be based on fighting fascists that want to grab your god and claim he is cool with them. No, he isn't. Loki isn't down with Nazis. It won't be based on fighting for a safe, inclusionary place for all people to come and to worship Loki and to be safe. They aren't going to have the battles with the bigots that hate people because of the color of their skin or who they love. They're not going to dare do that because they frankly don't care. They're not going to be fighting for historical accuracy at times, and we do need that at times. We don't have to be reconstructionists to go, okay, source, we should have sources. They're not going to be passionate enough to read all the books and go, well, this person turned out to be a crazy bigot, toss. They're not going to do that. And I'm getting this little sense of pride. They're not going to fight the good fight for Loki. They're never going to be in a group and see someone spit on the floor when you mention Loki's name. They're never going to be excluded because they mention Loki's name. They're never going to have to go through the pain, especially these women that have this obsession of being gay and therefore being excluded and having nothing to do with Loki, but you're gay and ooh. They're not going to have to deal with that. They're especially not going to have to deal with the pain of being told you're less than because you're gay, because you haven't had children, because you're not married. This is a strange new phenomenon, but it will never happen to them because they think they can walk in and set the rules. They'll never deal with any of this. They don't know what it's like to be an outsider. They don't know that's why a lot of us are attracted to Loki. They don't know what it's like to go through that kind of pain. But I will tell you this. Loki loves you. Loves me, loves all of you. He loves you as you are. It doesn't matter what gender you are or who you love. He loves you. These women do not speak for him. They're not more than you because they've had children. They are not more than you because they're married but also writing a very erotic blog about Loki. Ugh. They are not more than you. They have reduced Loki to an object of desire. They have taken our wonderful, complex, trickster, and fool as in court, odd as in moron, though some days I wonder. They have reduced him to nothing more than a fetish. And he deserves better than that. So if you guys like what you see, like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you later. Bye bye.